Have you ever thought about our human story? Have you ever questioned why the origin of our human story is so hidden in religious texts and scientific articles? Is it possible of some sort of root connection hidden underneath the surface? Well, catch this. I found impactful evidence that a new story is emerging. Inside this video, I'm going to take you through a deep dive, the actual truth of what is the origin of our human story. When and where does our human story begin? I know for myself, this is a question I always desired to understand more closely. What is the true origin story? How our origin story has developed into what we understand as the reason we have life today, and the reason life exists in every aspect of Earth and the universe and our cosmology. In this video, I will touch on what is our true relationship with this universe, why we are here now, and how does our collective story impact this cosmic story. Our ancestors told us we are all deeply connected to all things, one another, connected to all life, and a part of a cosmic community. This is and was our origin story we all agreed upon before modern time. Let's think for a second. If you were ever fortunate enough to travel or maybe learn about another community other than the one you live in, through your travels, when you observe other nations and communities, you can see no matter how different the traditions and the rituals may be from what you are accustomed to from your own home community, they all share a similar story, that we are the product of a living, intelligent essence. No matter where you are from on Earth or what you refer to this intelligent essence, maybe God, Buddha, Allah, divine intelligence, and many more names we all call this intelligence essence. We all are deeply connected to the source. Most of humanity's history, that has been our story until the birth of modern science. Some of us can agree on that this happened about 300 years ago, during an age when a scientist by the name of Isaac Newton formalized his theory on the laws of physics. And about the late 1600s, back in the early ages of science, a theory was only relevant until another scientist introduced a better theory that better justified the matter of the theory's trueness. Science did the same thing when it comes to our collective story and how we relate to this universe. Except nowadays, the story that science tells us in school has been the same for the past 150 years plus. Unless you go to a progressive school system or maybe some sort of homeschooling from an alternative source, where they are honoring the new discoveries and teaching the new theories that connect us all once more. But for a large percentage of people like myself, we were taught for the first time by traditional science that we are the product of lucky physics, which is explained to us that everything that occurred in the dead universe created the evolution of life we have today. Modern science will tell you everything happened randomly, just at the right timing. The causes of us believing lucky physics gives us reasons to think that the earth is ours to dominate, to harness, and to exploit. Because there's no other reason to think differently than the universe is an accident or separate from us. The question we have to ask is, how far do we allow this thinking to go? Because the new discoveries, thanks to technology, have found resources on other planets. Should we bring our way of thinking there as well and exploit Mars? Since the universe is dead, according to modern science. This same way of thinking has entered our evolution story as well. Modern science explains that we are the product of random biology, coming together at just the right timing, creating what we understand as human biology. But the questions we must ask is, where is the specialness? If we are only the product of an accident of biology, human life has no specialness. Human life is ours to dominate, ours to exploit, ours to give, ours to take away. And this reflection of what we believe to be our story shows up in many conflicting ideas. The reason we have so much violence in the world and no two nations can fully agree on the other nation's way of living all goes back to how much we value our origin story. We are destroying our environment and our planet all because we don't agree on our collective story. The old way, survival of the fittest. Or, in other words, competing until you are the last man standing. The more violence that we are seeing in this world is a direct example of how far away we have strayed away from our true fundamentals of nature. This way of thinking has led to our greatest loss of life in human history. More war has never solved why we are competing over nature's resources. To solve the problems, we must return to the harmony of nature. Have you truly observed nature? The cooperation exists in every aspect of nature on Earth, and the resistance of cooperation by any aspects of nature has direct consequences that affect the whole ecosystem. Nature does not continue to grow. If any element is missing in the process of growth, every living species relies on another organism or elements of nature to live in harmony, cooperating on Earth. I have great news for you and our collective story. The new data is proving the rules to the fundamentals of nature all goes back to cooperation. Just look within your body and observe yourselves. You are the living example of cooperation. Every one of your 50 trillion cells inside our bodies are working together to give us life. 0 cells inside the body have no use in the cell community of you, and nothing about the human body happens at random. Cooperation is the core key to the fundamentals of nature. Our birthright has always been to work together and coexist on Earth and coexist with harmony and nature. It is time we start to initiate the change in our local communities around the world, because scientists can no longer explain the origin of the old story as random. The new story gives us a reason to think differently. The new story is the universe is alive. Modern day cosmologists have confirmed that the universe is not dead, but it appears to be alive. Interesting, don't you think? Connected and responds to stimuli, such as a solar flare, for example, that happens in one region of the world. The rest of the universe will respond to that reaction as if it were a living being. The new data would infer a field of consciousness could extend all throughout space. Now let's talk about the biology of our evolution story. The old story is we are descendants from apes. If you went to public schooling, you have heard this before and even seen pictures explaining the evolution. The truth is, new data is showing that something happened to our genetic genome about 200,000 years ago that set us on a new path known as we are called anatomically modern humans. We know this now is not speculation. Thanks to new age technology, we can extract DNA from fossil remains of what we used to believe as our ancestors. When we look at the explorations from all forms of life that we were taught that we descended from, such as apes, now we know we did not evolve from this. By directly looking at their genomes over the human genomes, we can confirm that there is not enough overlap to make that connection. Here's the real truth. To this day, no science can prove the true origins of where we actually origin from. But from where we arrived 200,000 years ago, our DNA in terms of the genetic genome has not been modified, not once, and looks just like fossils that are being discovered today that keep on pushing back our timeline farther and farther from when we arrive, but does not change the fact that our genetic genome has not been modified since our origins. Our genomes remain exactly the same. The new story: we are the product of ordered biology and not random mutations that change our genetic genomes. New discoveries prove that the mutations in our genetic genome could not have happened through evolutionary process. Something else had to happen. The evolutionary process was Charles Darwin's theory that modern science holds on to, the idea that species evolve over time. After months of deep research into Charles Darwin's theory of evolutionary process, he deeply studied wildlife and was really fascinated with bird evolution, which resembles slow-moving evolutionary process. But as we just highlighted, our genetic genome has not been modified in over 200,000 years when we look at the data our DNA gives us. So possibly what has happened, just speculation here, a higher source intervened about 200,000 years ago, creating the cooperation of all elements within the human body to give us life. I believe that spreading the true observation of our origin story will give us hope once more in our human collective story. Knowing our true relationship with this universe is to live in harmony with nature, helping us connect all communities around the globe and rethink how we can begin to work with each other instead of against each other. Thanks for watching the research I found by observing the forbidden science that can change our collective perspectives. Once we are willing to agree on the new discoveries that can create more hope for our collective story. The new Earth already exists. Our job is to bring harmony back into our communities, back into our environments once more. So I hope you found value in this and can now see the harmony in our collective efforts after watching this video. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. This is Ellis with Blue Lotus Era, a community here for everyone, seeking growth and connection. Peace, family.